constantly building stuff. So the time is an important thing. Bob Chandler took his year last year. Everybody else gets caught up this year. Midsummer, it's going to be a whole new ball game, but everybody, once again, is going to be chasing that devil with the blue dress on, Scott.
On today's show, you're going to see Bigfoot 8, Bigfoot 4, and all the monsters in Albuquerque and Dallas as we recap. We've also got some great modified tractor pulling coming your way from the Omni in Atlanta. But when we come back, Albuquerque, New Mexico goes wild for the monster trucks. Tuff Trax is brought to you by the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo, now you're playing with power. We're going to pick up our review on some great monster truck racing in front of a packed crowd at Tingley Coliseum in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with first round action, opening night of competition, and it's the first ever race for the new driver of the Equalizer, Greg Holbrook, replacing David Morris, who had quit about a month earlier, Army, and he comes out to go up against Carolina Crusher first time out of the chute.
Well, anybody that follows the circuit knows there's no love lost between these two trucks. The new driver in the far truck, let's see what he's going to do. The kid out of Tennessee is for real. Look at that. Puts the old Carolina Crusher out of this one.
So the first race for Greg Holbrook as the pilot of the Equalizer becomes a successful race as he gets the win over Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. Then Army talked with him.
Greg Holbrook, some people are calling it beginner's luck, son. You look like you were born in that truck. It looked natural to you.
It sure feels good. The truck set up good, and I'm getting used to it real quick. I really enjoy it.
We talked to Gary earlier about choosing you. One of the reasons he said he chose you is because you used to race ATVs. I remember when you used to run and you ran at the national level, but an ATV is a little bitty motorcycle. What does an ATV have to teach you about driving a monster truck?
They react the same to the jumps and to the cars, the way you hit them. Everything just feels a lot alike.
All right, I'll tell you, these guys from Tennessee, they're not notorious for talking a whole lot. Golly, they drive the heck out of these trucks.
Greg Holbrook, certainly one of them. His quarterfinal matchup would come against Dave Wysoryk's Nightlight, a brand new Nightlight. This is the first time this truck came out of the box.
Well, Wysoryk is one of the strongest privateers in the circuit. He runs out of his own pocketbook, built a brand new truck. He knows it's going to be competitive, but he's got to get past this kid from Tennessee.
Now watch, the kid learned something right here, Army, because Wysoryk caught him sleeping at the line in this race.
Like any kind of drag race, 1,320 feet on the drag strip, which was winning in the first 6 inches. Same scenario in this sport. Wysoryk went on.
Absolutely cost Greg Holbrook. And, you know, the rookie learned something. As later in the show, we'll see he learned not to do again. And that was you get ready for that light to turn green. Wysoryk beat him on the start that time around. Army Armstrong talked with Dave Wysoryk after a victory over the defending world champion Equalizer.
Boy, you talk about a kid that's on a roll right here. 2 times in one night we get a chance to talk to you, and the truck looks like it's running just like it came off the showroom floor.
It is. It's running real good. It kind of coughed on me a little bit. I thought she was running a little lean, and I fattened her up, which I know is a mistake now, so I'm going to lean her back down and go back down the other way.
The altitude is really the problem here, and that everybody's trying to second-guess not only the track, but the altitude and the air density up here.
It is. It's the altitude, a combination with it's raining outside, so you got moisture to contend with, and coming in from the cold and the hot, you know, it's trying to get everything right. It takes a lot of calculation.
In the semifinals, King Crunch, with new sponsorship from Auto Value, met up with Bigfoot 8. This was the biggest test that Bigfoot would get, but he answered the challenge.
Scott Stevens felt that he can really run the board hard, but the Bigfoot truck and Andy Brandt, again, literally dominate this competition.
That was the closest run anybody could give Bigfoot throughout the weekend. Scott Stevens almost pulled it off. As we'll watch the replay, you can see the Auto Value King Crunch came up just barely short. Army talked with Andy Brandt.
Brandt, it's final time in Albuquerque, and you're going to be sitting in one lane. Does it make any difference to you who's going to be sitting next to you in the other lane?
No, it really don't make any difference. I ain't going to pay any attention who's there. I'm just going to run my race, run like I've been running all night, and we're going to put them away.
Well, he would find out who the opponent would be by watching Carolina Crusher and Nightlife. Crusher got back through the fast loser rule and then was able to win his quarterfinal matchup to earn a spot against Nightlife in the semifinal round. So Crusher would make the semifinals to take on Nightlife. Gary Porter has done this several times, Army, and all it is making sure that you understand the rules of the game. Maybe sometimes Gary knows that all he has to do is run well in the first round. He'll probably be back even if he doesn't win.
Now, what he does, he turns the numbers around and puts them on his side by running consistent. He'll always run strong. Very seldom we see this truck breaking, it pays dividends.
Did there because, again, he lost in the first round, came back in the second round as a fast loser, and has now earned his way into the finals. So Carolina Crusher and Bigfoot would be the finale first time around. But let's look at this race one more time against Nightlife and Dave Wysorek.
Wysorek ran him a real good race. It all came down to who received the best bounce, and it was the Carolina Crusher.
Gary Porter lines up in the lane on the left-hand side of your screen as we face it, trying to challenge Bigfoot 8.
God, it's amazing. Bigfoot is 2 whole seconds quicker in the final.
Bigfoot coming away with the victory, and Andy Brass gets the win. Let's watch him again side by side with Crusher. And again, watch the super technology of Bob Chandler's truck. It flies, it does get air, but it seems to just explode when it gets in the air and then stops on a dime. Army talked to the winner of the event in Albuquerque, Andy Brass of Bigfoot.
Andy, before the final, we told everybody somebody was going to show them how the West was won. I believe that Big Blue Ford did just that.
That's right, Army. The big blue Ford did, you know. It's like the old saying goes, have you driven a Ford lately?
Let me ask you a question. I saw somebody in the grandstands a few minutes ago. Bob Chandler's here. I haven't seen him around the truck. Did he buy a ticket, just come out here and watch your race?
Now, Bob come out, he had some things he had to take care of. He come out and he wanted to make sure the truck was running right. We did a lot of stuff with the truck this weekend. We dropped down in motor size. A lot of the guys are having a hard time beating us and stuff, so we kind of went down in motor to give everybody a chance and stay even with everybody. And even though we need the points, we need them bad, you know, I got to push the truck hard now to win, but we did it, and the old Ford come through for us.
So the new Bigfoot 8 dominated the first night of TNT racing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When we return, we'll see if this space-age truck can make it 2 in a row on Tuff Trax. Back on Tuff Trax, I'm Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman in Albuquerque, New Mexico, reviewing some great monster truck action from over the past month here on Tuff Trax. Now we're going to look at second-day highlights from Tingley Coliseum in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Again, Army, they turned away crowds, completely sold out, every seat taken, and great monster truck fans. They were flat into the action, and what they were into for this matchup was a Chevrolet showdown between Steve Wilkie's USA 1 and Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher.
Well, Scott, when we came in the building, so many people were stopping us on the street saying, welcome to Albuquerque, we're glad you're here. For years, they've been seeing these trucks on television. Tonight, they bought a ticket. They're going to watch them firsthand, and 2 Chevrolets go head-to-head. Wilkie trying to go against the Crusher. Wilkie will hang on for a close win.
Steve Wilkie's USA 1 getting the victory over Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher.
Scott, one of the things we keep talking about is the technology of the truck. I want the spectators to notice the bounce of the truck, the rebound of the truck. That is what will lose a race for you. That's the big controversy with Bigfoot. When Bigfoot lands, it kind of sponges to the ground, where these trucks have a tendency to bounce.
Here's Chris Chapman with Steve Wilkie of USA 1.
Steve, you came flying out of the pits. Did you think you won or lost that one?
I was on my way up to the video stand. There's a feeling you get inside when you win, and I knew I had a good pass, good straight pass, and I was in the throttle. It was really close, but I was going to see it for myself, and they came out and told me that I had won. That was my gut feeling.
So you thought you had it?
Yeah, it's a feeling, Chris. You know, you really, sometimes it comes down to inches, but you know inside.
Do you have any feelings about the outcome of tonight?
We're going to be out there standing on it, that's all I can tell you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Steve Wilkie with Everett Jasper's USA 1 team running well in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now more first-round action. The Auto Value King Crunch and Scott Stevens having a good weekend, taking on Dave Wysorek's Nightlife. Again, the brand new Nightlife Chevrolet. Army, you commented on it a moment ago, but it's so interesting about Wysorek. Built the truck from the ground up, painted the truck, drives the truck. Dave Wysorek is the Nightlife Chevrolet.
Yeah, he's the Nightlife Chevrolet, the average privateer. He'll be running out of one lane, and then you look at Scott Stevens. A lot of people feel that Stevens is the ringleader in the controversy over the Bigfoot truck. Scott's a racer. You can look at his truck. He's got sponsors all over that truck. He wants to win with it, but he wants to run the same equipment that everybody else does. I don't believe Scott Stevens is a ringleader. He's just calling them like he sees them, and everybody else is saying, hey, you're right.
Auto Value King Crunch with Scott Stevens out of Woodlands, Texas, taking on the Nebraska truck, Nightlife, and Dave Wysorek. First round action, night number 2 in Albuquerque, and watch the Auto Value King Crunch pull the trigger, but he comes off the course. He sheared the finish pole on that run, and Nightlife beat him.
He winged the throttle about 12 times to keep that truck upright. In this motorsport, you got to gas when you're in trouble. Look at this. He goes up. He's in trouble right now. He's winging the throttle. Ramp, 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 ramp,
crushing pull, shattered by the Auto Value King Crunch. In the meantime, you can see a good straight shot from Dave Weissoric, who wins at Nightlife. Chris Chapman caught up with Scott Stevens after that wild one.
Scott, a very, very close race between you and Dave Weissoric.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I thought I left really good on the line, but I had a lot of problems at the finish line, so just glad to save the truck.
What happened?
I think we got this chassis a little tight tonight. We just experimenting all weekend, and last night we did a right choice. Tonight we went backwards.
So what are you going to do with the King Crunch machine now?
Well, if we get to come back, we're going to loosen it back up and go with the setup we had last night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
In the quarterfinal round, it was Nightlife, Dave Weissoric against Steve Wilkie, USA 1. Now, this would be a dandy race, so keep your eyes on this one. Two big, tough Chevrolets, and I'll tell you, these guys were pumped up with this crowd as excited as it was.
Yeah, there was electricity in the crowd, and you got to remember, Wilkie's been winning, but he's been having to go to the wall, literally through the door to shut the truck down, and it cost him a whole lot of air. It looked good, but it's not going to get him into that next round, Scott.
Yeah, that was one of those runs that's great for the people in the stands taking pictures, but it doesn't help you in the win column.
Yeah, the air looks good. It kills you on time. Weissoric took advantage of it. Wilkie's on a trailer. Weissoric goes to the final.
Again, it's the consistency of Dave Weissoric. A nice straight shot, and Army Armstrong got a chance to talk with him after his win.
You come out here, run a real strong race. You're still right in the middle of this thing with a brand new truck. It's got to make you feel great.
It does. It feels real good. I'm getting the hang of the truck better and better, and I'm getting used to backing in inside the truck, lining up a lot straighter. And I think once I get going and get the hang of the truck, I'm going to do real well.
The Auto Value King Crunch would get a chance to come back. The opponent, the equalizer, and the new kid in town, Greg Holbrook, the rookie driver of the World Championship truck.
So you got to remember, Greg has already taken baptism on the fire. He has already gone to sleep one time on the starting line. Gary Cook, his mentor, says, son, you got one mistake. You've made it. You don't do it again. Look for a heads-up start from both of these drivers, as Scott Stevens is notorious for his starting line antics. Both of them will leave on the green at Albuquerque.
Quarterfinal round action. Now again, Stevens went back, loosened the chassis up after a bad run, and he gets a good start on Holbrook and puts away the defending world champion equalizer, and he made it look easy too.
Yeah, what you have there is the experienced driver going against the rookie. The experience paid dividends.
Let's look at it again on the replay. You can see a great start for King Crunch, and you can tell the chassis was right on that run. So the Auto Value King Crunch would move into the semifinal round, but the first semifinal sends out that awesome Bigfoot 8 machine with Andy Brass against Dave Weisoric's Nightlife, having a great night. Could he pull the unbelievable upset? Well, not this time.
What we're going to be looking at here are two ends of the spectrum, the privateer and the Chevrolet. Closest to the camera, he's going against the factory truck. Bob Chandler, Big Blue Bigfoot, and Andy Brass, and the factory boys take this one.
You can see it, again, was quite easy for Andy Brass and Bigfoot. A full-length victory on a relatively short indoor course. Here they come over the hump, and you can see when Bigfoot explodes when he gets to the ramp, and it's all over.
And Weissoric made a good run.
The victory going to Andy Brass, so Army got to talk with Brass about putting Bigfoot in the final for the second straight night in Albuquerque.
You have a preference as far as which truck you want to run? Awesome Kong, and you put on some battles. But this King Crunch truck's been bad-mouthing you a whole lot. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I like to run Kong, you know. I've been with Kong a lot, you know. I like to see Crunch get knocked out early, you know, get the points down on him. From what I can understand right now, we're leading in the points, so I'm trying to keep the other guys down as far as we can.
Very good analogy by Andy Brass, and as any racer, he understands the points. He was aware that at that point in the weekend in Albuquerque, Bigfoot 8 had indeed taken the point lead, and the Auto Value King Crunch, among those still around, was his toughest challenger, his closest competitor in points.
Yeah, he's like a quarterback. He knows wherever defensive man is on that field, he knows what it's going to take to win. And look at this, side by side. Stevens is going to the final and trying to shut it down again.
I'll tell you, outstanding run, and I think it was just the way Awesome Kong had a nosedive that determined the victor in this race.
Let's see if we can see Scott Stevens come out. He's pumped up on a run. Engine goes away in the far lane. Stevens is going to the final, and he is excited.
You could tell he was excited in the truck, but as he would tell Army in an interview, he couldn't be excited about the final because the truck had problems.
Right now, we've got a scoop. We just found out that you guys are not going to be able to come back and go 100%. Is that the word, Scott?
Yeah, Army, it's, you know, we hate to say it, but, you know, Auto Value Parts Store Special, we're racing for the World Championship, so we're going to come back to the final round for the points, but The new suspension we tried is working great, but all the 4-link bars broke off in that semifinal round against Austin. So, you know, we're just going to have to come back and go easy just to get the points.
Kevin, you guys have been thrashing all year long to get the right combination. It looks like the combination is there. Is this going to take any of the intensity away from you fellas, or do you still believe you can win this world championship?
No, we can still do it. This is just a minor setback right now. Once we get this problem fixed, we're going to come back at it.
Well, everybody there involved knew what would happen. The crowd wasn't aware that King Crunch was hurt, but they were basically looking forward to seeing Bigfoot once again sky. And Andy Brass did not disappoint him, despite the fact that the Auto Value Crunch truck was unable to go full tilt.
Well, Andy Brass had already received word to the grapevine that Stevens was not going to be able to run him hard. He kind of looked at it and says, no, I don't believe it. We're going to find out. So he lines up, going to make a bonsai shot out of the far lane. Is Stevens hurt? We don't know. We're not going to know until that light goes green. You can see what happened, but look at Brad. Motors it to the big end, pulls the trigger, and almost tags the wall in Albuquerque.
Shuts her down right at the big Circle K and had him loving it in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So it was back-to-back wins for Bigfoot 8 in Albuquerque, and the controversy was about to really heat up. Here's where the TNT monster trucks are coming. To Bowling Green, Ohio, at the Wood County Fairgrounds, then to the beautiful Myrtle Beach Speedway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. A little Independence Day action. Back on Tuff Trax, Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman reviewing the most exciting and controversial month in the history of monster truck racing. Well, after a couple of great weeks in Albuquerque, on to Dallas, Texas for the first time ever, 3 monsters racing at the same time. In Texas Stadium, TNT built a 3-lane course, but the Gravedigger would not compete on that first night. He was unable to make a pass as Dennis Anderson's truck had more mechanical problems.
Well, you know, the 3-wide truck racing brought a whole new group of problems to all the other drivers, but Anderson has the same old problem, too much horsepower.
Dennis unable to make even one pass and obviously disgusted about his drive to Dallas, Texas. Bigfoot 4 with John Pyatt. We had already discussed the fact that Bigfoot 8 was banned after Albuquerque, and Bigfoot 4 would be forced to run at least until the end of July. Then 8 will be allowed to come back when TNT says other trucks will be ready that could be on a more competitive plane with Bigfoot 8. Now we're going to take a look at quarterfinal round action. Equalizer never gets off the line. The Auto Value King Crunch gets the win over Carolina Crusher and Equalizer.
Equalizer did not get off the line. There was a malfunction in the electronic kill system. Scott Stevens from Texas wants to really put on a good show, and you talk about a good show. This next round of qualifying, it was wheels up, drag races start. Pennsylvania in the middle of New York. Look at the bounce. The master of disaster almost met that disaster, Scott.
Quarterfinal round action, and we didn't know if Doug Spanier would be back in the master of disaster. What you didn't see on camera was it got even wilder. Buffalo Tremor off camera smacks the wall of Texas Stadium on the other side. But Spanier got it shut down in the master of disaster after one of the wildest rides we've seen this year. Doug Spanier gets a big hug. But obviously, he's okay, and Army was able to get a chance to talk to him. But before we go to that interview, let's take one more look at one of the wildest bucking Bronco-type rides you're ever going to see.
Scott, the chassis is too tight. It makes him bounce up in the air. Watch the impact. Bam, right there. Now he's in trouble. Just like a fighter pilot, you got to ride it down now.
As promised, here's that interview with Army and an excited Doug Spanier.
Doug Spanier, the further you go into this battle, the tougher these fights get.
Boy, I tell you, the first 2 runs I only went to 2nd gear, and I went to 3rd gear that run, and it hooked up. It just shot it. I probably should have caught 3rd a little bit quicker, but I caught it as about the time I was going up the ramp, and I think I just launched it that much more.
Are you ready for the next round? Everything go?
I think everything's good. One arm bent a little bit to straighten that out.
We'll see you in the next round. These Texans are loving every minute of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Seems like a perfect moment to go to the Crunch of the Week.
Hold on to your seats for the amazing Crunch of the Week, brought to you by Micro Machines, the #1 colossally collectible vehicles in the world. If it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing.
The Crunch of the Week has got to be one more look at Doug Spanier and the Master of Disaster. Again, Army, more on the chassis being too tight.
What a tight chassis springs you, just like a spring. It's taut. It'll spring you up in the air. That's exactly what happened. What you don't see is some tremendous footwork by the camera crew, because they were definitely in trouble on this one.
And at the bottom of the screen, Buffalo Tremor smacked the wall, all a big part of the crunch of the week. On to the semifinals, matching the Outlaw Ford, the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet, and the Clydesdale Chevrolet. And watch for the new Outlaw to make his presence known.
Brand new Ford, light truck, big horsepower. Trying to work it on this side of close race, puts away the truck in the middle, but he's also having a whole lot of problems as this stadium seemed to get smaller and smaller in length as the night went on, Scott.
Mike Wine in the Outlaw Ford driving for Nick Rossi out of Pennsauken, New Jersey. Mike was excited about having a brand new truck for this first shot in Texas Stadium, and it shows here. It was on the second set of cars that he got to win. If we'd have still been indoors like in Albuquerque, Crusher would have won that race, but it's Wine getting the win. Army got a chance to talk with the winner.
Well, they're starting to set the final. The next three winners are going to the final. This is one of them driving the Ford called the Jersey Outlaw. Mike, did you believe you would be going to the final when this thing started tonight?
I didn't believe it until I qualified with it. Once I qualified and then laid a smooth run down, I had all the confidence in the world. Me and my boss, Nick Rossi, and everybody else that's helped build this truck over the last 7 weeks we built it. I'm going to the finals and I'm going to win.
Mike Wine full of confidence, but he had two big Chargers next to him in the final. The Master of Disaster and the Auto Value King Crunch.
I cannot believe the Master of Disaster wheels up just like a drag car. The only difference is that truck weighs 13,000 pounds. It was so close at the end, both drivers had to go back, and we actually had to study the Diamond Vision replay, as neither driver knew who took this big win.
Well, the Diamond Vision helped everybody in the arena. Of course, the official TNT tape was showing about the same kinds of angles, and they had to run that back several times before they were able to decide who was able to come up with the victory in this final matchup. Now, we see the drivers pulling back onto the cars. They don't know at this point who's won. Now, you can see Mike Wine with a thumbs up, but they're going to look at the Diamond Vision, and as Army pointed out in Texas Stadium, that's how they got an idea who actually got the victory. Now, this is what they're seeing as they look up at the Diamond Vision. You can see Spanier right at the top of your screen is really studying it. Now, everybody in Texas Stadium was still trying to find out who had gotten the victory, and everybody found out together. Let's see if we can pick up that announcement.
The time for the Master of Disaster is 6.19. The time for the Outlaw, 6.23.
Looked like Mike Wine's heart kind of jumped up in his throat, and Doug Spanier about jumped out of Texas Stadium as he ended up with the victory. The Albany, Minnesota truck, the Master of Disaster, makes history as the first winner ever on a three-lane monster truck course.
You know, that should take nothing away from the New Jersey truck, the Outlaw, the Ford team. They're for real. They know what's going to happen. It's just a question of time.
Night 2 in Dallas coming up a little later as the USA 1 Wild Rock and Roll Show comes to Texas Stadium. Tuff Trax review of the wildest month ever in monster truck racing with our second night of action from Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas, just outside of Dallas. And Army, I don't think I've ever seen a qualifying run like this one. Not because there were 3 trucks. That was just a part of it. Watch the end of the run when Wild Hair can't get it shut down and Clydesdale's in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
What you're looking at are 3 trucks in 3 distinct, serious, bad situations. And that's what happened.
Clydesdale is busted by Wild Hair and rolls over on his roof. Absolutely incredible moment.
And the Master of Disaster, he had his share of problems on the far side. What happened? We had throttle sticking and everybody's trying to get through one door. It doesn't work.
There you can see now all the safety crews over and a lot of drivers and mechanics with other trucks to help out. They get Bennett Clark out of Powder Springs, Georgia, out of the Clydesdale truck, obviously shaken, but he is no worse for wear. And the fans give him a big round of applause as Clark is okay.
Watch the far side. He's in trouble. Bennett Clark knows he's going to have problems. He's got a gas right now. He's got to go for the door, but bam, blindsided by Wild Hair, who has a throttle hang on him. down, Scott.
Didn't get there in time as Marvin Smith and the Wild Hair just completely lost it at the end of the run. That, of course, the old stomper truck driver Marvin Smith. And, boy, that time he really had it going full tilt, couldn't get it shut down, and knocked the Clydesdale over. Hey, it's time for the Nintendo Power Play. And I'm going to tell you, there's no better spot to take it than to look at this mess one more time. The Wild Hair and Clydesdale. The Nintendo Power Play from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power. USA 1 out now in qualifying against Bigfoot. One-on-one, side-by-side, two at a time.
Race of the century right here. Chevrolet and Ford. Bigfoot. Look what happens. We got a whole lot of trouble now.
Obviously,
Wilkie into the wall down here, into the generator, Scott.
Wilkie was bound and determined to prove that he could beat Bigfoot in qualifying, and he went full out and went right into the generator that fuels the laser light show that was on hand to add a specialty act to that night's program.
There's a whole lot to this rivalry. Bob Chandler and Ever Jasmer have been friends and enemies for years, okay? Neither one wanted their driver to lose to the other one, and Wilkie, whatever it took, was going to win that race.
He took out the scoreboard clock, the 45-second clock that the Cowboy quarterbacks use to tell them how much time they have to call a play. That's what's placed in the wood behind the generator as Wilkie has to go all out and then can't get it shut down. And boom, there goes the 45-second clock.
We keep talking about Wilkie, but we've got to give credit to the driver of Bigfoot. That young man did a fine job in that particular situation.
John Pyatt was able to stay out of what could have been a real disaster for him. So USA 1 hits the wall, but out-qualified Bigfoot, which is what he was trying to do, and a fired up Steve Wilkie got ready to go racing some more. Here are the TNT Monster Truck Challenge World Championship point standings, brought to you by Restore Automotive Products. At this point in the season, after 2 nights in Dallas, Equalizer had regained the points lead with Bigfoot and Auto Value King Crunch in close pursuit. There you can see the second 5 is also tightly bunched with the Outlaw looking like a truck that may be ready to make a move. Back on Tuff Trax with Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman, I'm Scott Douglas. As we continue our review, this may be one of the most exciting moments I've been around in monster truck racing, Army. After that severe flip when he was knocked over by Wild Hair, as Clydesdale rolled back into the arena, electricity just filled Texas Stadium.
Well, he's kind of like the Phoenix. He came back from the fire, and he drove real hard. It's almost like he knew the truck couldn't hurt him now. Look at this. Bennett Clark, Rhino Cowboy. You know, he's no Bravo Bull Rider. He knows you got to get back up on him. That's exactly what he did deep in the heart of Texas.
He beat the man who won the first night in Texas Stadium, and they loved it. The Clydesdale quickly becoming a crowd favorite in Texas after rolling over on his roof, coming back and beating Master of Disaster.
Yeah, he just flat beat. Bennett Clark has a confidence now he has not had before. He knows the truck is safe and he can drive it hard. That's exactly what will happen when you do that.
Bennett Clark coming out of the Clydesdale, now a real hero in Texas Stadium. And Army Armstrong was able to take a few minutes and talk about the wildest night in monster truck racing ever for one Bennett Clark.
Bennett, it's been a long night in Texas. What's new, son?
Shoot, it's a tough night out here.
The truck looks good. You got the confidence back. They say you always got to get back up on that rascal rider. You're an old bull rider. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I like to ride. I like driving monster trucks. That's just like getting towed off the boat. You just get back on it and go again.
When he would go again would be the semifinal round against the defending world champion Equalizer. New paint job for the rookie driver, Greg Holbrook, and the Auto Value King Crunch is in the other lane.
That was an interesting shot. You can see how nervous Holbrook was. You can see his foot actually shaking until he put it on the throttle. Now let's see what this rookie's going to do. Texas far side, Georgia and Tennessee. Tennessee comes out the winner big time on this one.
He pulled that by more than a length, and he did it on the second set as he hit those cars and exploded in Gary Cook's truck. Greg Holbrook gets the victory in the equalizer, so he earned one of 3 spots in the finals. Bigfoot's transmission broke, Army. He couldn't go backwards, so that's a new kind of reverse gear.
Well, no problems with the rule. Bob Chandler himself comes out and says, hey, the rule says nothing about it. We're going to roll it back in the lanes. So on the far side, you got the Carolina Crusher, you got Bigfoot out of Missouri, and the young man out of Nebraska. You got 3 strong trucks. Still, you got the equalizer out there flexing his muscle. Boy, at this point in time, everybody in Texas was pulling for something either yellow, blue, or burgundy.
However, it had to be a big surprise what was about to happen. 2 of the biggest names of the sport, Bigfoot and Carolina Crusher, were about to be humbled by a privateer from Nebraska.
Close race, all 3 trucks making good runs, but Dave Wysorek goes to that next round. One of the biggest wins of his career, I'll guarantee you, Scott.
Equalizers in the final, Nightlife's in the final, the 3rd semifinal matchup to determine the 3rd finalist, which sent last week's winner, Master of Disaster, USA 1 already having a wild run, and the big bad Ford from Phoenix, Arizona, Pablo Cruz, and Tough Enough.
Watch the front wheels on the Master of Disaster. It's like a drag racer trying something different, dropping away. He yanks him out of the water in the close lane. Wilkie trying to come back on him in the middle. No!
When they hit that second set of cars, USA 1 actually had the lead, but something about going to 3rd gear has been magic for Master of Disaster in Dallas, and man, when he took it up a notch, he exploded by USA 1. The Monster Smash Final, Dave Wysorek in Nightlife, the Master of Disaster and Doug Spanier, Greg Holbrook, and the Equalizer.
Once again, Spanier goes wheels up out of the middle, but look at the kid from Tennessee, his first win ever, showing that Equalizer is still a player for that World Championship.
And what a time to get it in Texas Stadium on the first ever 3-lane course. The Texas Cup goes to Greg Holbrook from Springfield, Tennessee, and that big Equalizer Chevrolet. A great weekend, though, for Doug Spaniard, Master of Disaster, getting a first and then finishing 3rd the second night of racing as he finished behind Equalizer and Nightlife, but made the finals both nights. Still, the Texas Cup went to Greg Holbrook and his Tennessee buddy, Gary Cook.
Greg Holbrook, what a Cinderella story. Go ahead and take your trophy. That's fantastic. Gary, congratulations to you. It looks like you again picked you a super driver for this truck.
I had a lot of faith in him. I thought he could do it.
You know, you got to be the quietest young man in this sport, but you really carry a big stick. I'm awfully proud you're here with us. Congratulations on winning this first ever Texas event. Hang in there, son. You're going to be a star.
Thank you, Army. I just needed a little experience under me, and I knew I could do it.
Tell you what, you guys are definitely hot and heavy in this thing. We'll be watching the rest of the year. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Army.
That was a wild 4 weeks of racing on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Bigfoot 8 dominates in Albuquerque, New Mexico, then is banned from competition in Dallas, Texas. That enabled Equalizer to reclaim the points lead from Bigfoot. The remainder of 1990 ought to be spectacular as new trucks hit the circuit to challenge Bigfoot 8 when it returns. I'm Scott Douglas for Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman. We'll see you next week with more TNT Motorsports action right here on Tuff Trax.